So welcome everybody to the next session of my famous podcast. Thank you for joining us. AK, a fantastic new guest of ours. We're looking to do some collaborations, and I'm so excited to have you on the show, my friend. AK's done some unbelievable stuff in the residential investment world, and I'm going to have him share his story as well as a lot of golden nuggets. So make sure you guys rewatch this, take a lot of notes, and here we go. So AK, thank you for joining us on the show, my friend. First thing I want to talk about really quickly is I want to dive back into the very early versions of you. I know you're an immigrant, you immigrated to this country, and then you've created some incredible success, multi seven figures, multi seven figures in success over the last, 20 years in this industry. So I want to rewind the clocks and I want to get to know the younger version of you.
Yeah, so Henry, great question. The younger version of me was just as confused as any teenager out there. I was going through school. I thought that getting education at the top schools like George Washington University, where I have the master's from computer science, would be my ticket to success and to make millions. And boy, was I wrong. I had a good GPA. I struggled. I paid a lot of debt, man. I was obviously in debt when I graduated college, but more importantly, I had to work 2 jobs while I was in college. And I was young and I was foolish. I didn't have any mentors. And that's why mentors are important, guys. So I slept in my car for 9 months. That's one of my highlights of my story, that I was so dedicated that I was willing to pay any price. When my other friends had quit their school and worked for gas stations, convenience stores, because they didn't have the visa status or they didn't have the money to pay for expensive college education, which has very low ROI, I should add. So that was my start. And then I always told myself that one day if I do become something, I'm going to help people because I want to give back to the community and the society. And that was a younger version of me. And I just kept reading books after books from, Robert Kiyosaki to several people who were writing at that time. And I learned that real estate was something that everybody wanted to do if they had the money and the time. It wasn't that hard to learn, and people were making a lot of money. And there were all these books called No Money Down, Zero Money Down, financing from other people's money, and so on and so forth. So I got really interested in that, and I started reading and reading. And what I realized, none of the family members that I knew in my community were inspired by that. They always told me that this is not something you should get into. You should just buy a house, get married, have a couple of kids, and you'll be happy. That's all we're supposed to do in life. And something in me was telling me that's not the case. I need to do something more. I can't see myself like these people, with 5 kids and living in a townhome for the rest of my life. I had bigger dreams. I wanted to, travel the world. I wanted to have employees working for me. I wanted to make money in my sleep. I wanted to have properties in different parts of the world. And so that's how it all started. It's just, me being curious, reading a lot, watching, social media, and wondering, why do these guys have all this stuff they're talking about, and why is nobody else doing it?
I appreciate you sharing that, because I want to dive into maybe the one or two things. Do you feel like there was a memory that you have? Because I know you mentioned your friends who had dropped out and were working at the convenience stores and the gas stations. We both know that mindset is so freaking important and so crucial to success. Yeah. And I think that there's these trigger points, right? These crazy points in our life where all of a sudden the light changes, right? Or just the light turns on. And I'm just curious if you remember a specific moment where you're like, I definitely don't want this life, or I definitely do want this life, or where that started to change.
I think when I graduated college and I realized the income I was making, for example, my first job I was making about $65,000 as a computer science graduate. And I realized I bought a house and I was barely making my bills, man. And I was like, wow, I'm supposedly an educated guy, white collar job. I make good money, decent money at the time, for a 21-year-old kid. But why am I struggling to pay bills? Why can't I go buy nice things? Why can't I drive a nice car? And that just flipped the switch on me. And I realized that, wow, there is something else I'm supposed to do. This is not the end. This is just a step up to where I was, which was doing odd jobs. I was parking cars as a valet before college. And so this is just a step up from that. And this is my beginning. And that kind of flipped the switch on, because I'm like, well, I want to be able to afford things. I don't want to have to think about buying something that, oh my God, it's $200 shoes or whatever. At that time, it was a big deal for me. So that flipped the switch for me that, why can I do this? And what can I do more than other people to really, excel my life on a fast path?
Yeah, I think it's fascinating. It's people, especially I feel like nowadays, the number's 100 grand, right? Whether it's in real estate or in a corporate job, everyone wants to earn their first 6 figures, right? Or say that they're making 100,000, and then you get it, and then you're like, this is nowhere near enough money.
No,
and it's honestly shocking. Even now in 2023, we both know people who make 100, 120, 150 grand a year. I was just talking to a friend of mine who makes 120,000 a year. Amazing man. But it's you're living paycheck to paycheck with 2 kids.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
and it sucks. And it sucks, right? I mean, like, it's just like, it's because you're not taught these things, growing up in life. You think, again, go to school, get good grades, go get a corporate job, and you're going to be okay. Making 120,000 a year with 2 kids isn't enough money anymore, right? It's
No.
just not enough. So let's continue to go down this journey of yours. So reading a lot of content, learning from the people that you can possibly learn from around you, which wasn't your family or the people that were super connected. You had to go out and make those relationships and find those books. Tell me about your very, very first deal. How did that go?
Yeah, that's an interesting story, man. I will never forget my first deal and the numbers on that deal. So it turns out that I was renting a space from a landlord, and that
Okay.
landlord is a very old man, and his daughter had passed away, and he could not maintain this big, large single family house. I had just graduated from college. I had saved some money. I was making good money and I was saving some money. I didn't drive a nice car. I had an old beat up Honda Accord that I bought for, I think, $1,600 at the time. So I was saving all kinds of money, not having an expense and living practically for free in this house. Well, the landlord wanted to sell his house. And then I was reading all these books on purchasing property and all that. And the idea came to my mind. And I asked him, I said, well, why don't you sell the house to me? And he said, well, do you have the money? And I said, well, I have $10,000. And it turns out that I needed $20,000. So he was a very nice man and he wanted to get rid of the property. He didn't want to fix any of the things in the property. He said, look, you can borrow the other 10 grand from me and buy this property. And I said, wow, I can't believe this could happen. And then at the time, interest rates were really high. My credit score was really bad. So one thing for anyone listening is that make sure your credit score is on point. Work extremely hard on your credit score because it can save you a lot of money. Now I'm about to do a video on credit, how it's going to be called that, how a low credit score, the high price of a low credit score. So my credit score was shoddy, so I got a shitty rate, but I was able to secure a loan from the bank, bought the house from him. A year or so later, I upgraded the house and I had to learn plumbing, I had to learn carpentry, I had to upgrade the floors myself. Again, whatever as a young man I was doing because nobody else around me was doing it at the time. I learned to do those things, became a handyman myself, and upgraded the house and sold that house for $200,000 profit within a year and a half. And that was my first break because me making $60,000 a year, all of a sudden get a $200,000 check at a closing, I was just stunned. I looked at that check. I remember I slept with the check right next to my bed. And I was like, wow, I can't believe I'm 21 years old and I can do this. That just turned something on in my mind that, wow, this could be like mega. This could be really big.
And this is the funny thing that I feel like so many people miss out on or don't pay attention to. Because, like, the regular part of society right now says, the whole buying a house piece, I understand, obviously, and everyone can comprehend that. But the piece that I love that you were paying attention to was not only were you in a creative financing situation, but also you found a house, and whether it was by design, which I wanted you to talk about in a second here, where you found a house at a discounted price, right? You were able to fix it up a little bit and then also, find this extra value of $200,000 in profit in the next year and a half, 2 years. Because so many people just go like, oh, I want to buy a house. I'm going to go look on the market. And they don't ever try to find an off market or a creative deal. So it's amazing that for your very first deal, you went out and did this. So I want to talk, like, were you looking for a good deal? Were you like, was this after you were reading all these books and you knew about creative financing, or is this something that kind of just happened?
Absolutely. I was reading all this stuff that I talked about. This wasn't something I had to reinvent. I was reading about finding a good deal. I was also reading about the fact that you should never pay more than 67% for a property. At the time, this was the number, right? And so I was like, well, how can I get a deal if this house is worth, I don't know, $300,000? How can I get it for 250 or maybe 225? That was my goal. And luckily, I found a motivated seller because he was an old man. He didn't want to fix up the property. His daughter had passed away. He didn't want to live in the same house where his daughter passed away, a young daughter, I might add. So he wanted to move out as soon as possible because it was having an emotional toll on him. And I, caught it opportunity, caught it luck, caught it, my mindset. I jumped on the deal and I didn't even know if I'm going to be able to make the payment, but I said, I don't care if I don't eat for several days. I'm going to buy this house. I'm going to make the mortgage payments. I'm going to improve my credit by doing that. And then it all worked out.
A huge tip for those of you who are looking to buy your first house. I mean, finding a good deal and then, constructing a creative financing opportunity when the opportunity arises. I mean, absolutely a win-win situation. That was amazing. Give me the next phases here. So you did that one deal, you made 200 grand. And obviously, you're an, incredibly successful person today. So I want, how did you go from that very first deal to where you are now?
So I think it's funny, and I'm sure you can relate to this, that once you do one deal, you can do 10 deals. And then it all comes down to like finding the software, the people, the connections. So for the next 5 years, I built a lot of connections with the contractors, with the neighbors, people who are motivated sellers, sending out, flyers, posting my phone number on social media for people who have deals. And I started getting deals from here and there from wholesalers. I registered online with Facebook groups at the time, were very popular. A whole bunch of wholesalers have their Facebook groups and their email list. And then I also posted my name on, as an investor myself, I posted my name on myhousedeals.com. At the time was very popular. So people started calling me for money. And then from that venue, I started getting more business, as in, somebody would say, like, I have a property, I got it for really discounted price. Do you want to partner with me on this property? And I said, sure. So that's how I started to expand and buy more properties. And I might add that in different states, I bought a lot of property in Pennsylvania, Arizona, and obviously in DC, Maryland, Virginia. And I started to expand, through that. But even more than that, when I bought my second house, I built a custom house up here in Chantilly, Virginia. And I built that house and I bought it for, I think, $500,000, did a custom, upgrade and so on and so forth from the builder. A few years later, that house was, I think this is before 2008, was worth about $1.2 million. So I had made about $700,000 from that property. And I wish I had more money. I would have bought two of those. But that's how I started expanding. I started seeing real estate as an investment, not really just a place to live, and so on and so forth.
Okay, so that brought you to, again, 2007, 2008. I mean, bring me all the way to today. I mean, what are you focusing on these days? What does your business look like? How can, what are some things that you're working on right now that we can support you on?
Yeah, so right now I'm doing two buildings for affordable housing, as I mentioned, for Section 8 people up in Baltimore, Maryland. These buildings are anywhere from 6 to 10 units on each building, with multiple car garages and so on and so forth. They're not in the best neighborhoods, and that's where you find sometimes really good deals for these properties. They're not multi-use, they're mostly residential, but the rents are really high in these areas. And the reason being is that the county and city has a lot of money, and they pay, those 508 vouchers to people. So I got into this area because I realized that it doesn't matter where the economy goes up or down, or the real estate market is up or down. These Section 8 people, they always get their paychecks from the housing authority. So I started to dig deeper into it, and I actually recently I'm hiring another tenant who will be moving into my Section 8 property. And so this becomes a very lucrative proposition for me. But not only that, by doing that, I'm also revamping these historic buildings that are really old, almost I would say some of them as old as early 1900s. So when you rehab these buildings, you also get some tax benefits from the city or the county that you're working with, as much as $10,000 a year for each property for the next 5-6 years. So that also becomes very lucrative. So all in all, most of my investment that I do are probably, multi-unit rehabs, buildings or apartment buildings, shall I call them, with tax breaks, Section 8, and affordable housing.
Let's dive into that a little bit. So for someone who's looking to get involved in these types of deals, and what I think that's so fascinating is that there are so many different asset classes, from single families to multifamilies, strip centers, office mixed use, development land. I mean, like, there's so many different options to make money on the investment side that brokers like myself and other individuals who are looking to help investors like yourself find these great deals. There's a lot of opportunity out there. And I think that people just have to, if you can get really good at one asset class or two asset classes specifically, and really niche down and get really, really specific. So like you've been talking about, you're niching down, you're focused on this specific asset class of affordable housing in these specific areas where you're also getting the tax break benefit, which is incredibly lucrative. Very, very smart. So I want to talk to the audience a little bit. First off, how do you find your deals, and what type of underwriting metrics do you look for?
Yeah, so deals are mostly but through connections. And I got to be honest with you, I don't have a magical software or way to find deals. It's really through connections from people who you know. And like I mentioned, myhousedeals.com is another venue where people bring to me a lot of deals. I get over 50 deals every 2 weeks. And from those 50 deals a month, I would say I probably find one deal that might interest me. And I might do a deal every other month or maybe every 3 months.
myhousedeals.com.
myhousedeals.com, yeah. So if you register yourself as an investor there, or or you just want to borrow money from someone, there's a lot of people on there that are lending money, mostly for residential, but also for commercial in some cases. So yeah, I mean, it's really connections. It's really knowing people knowing me by name. You won't believe somebody contacted me through YouTube because they need some help with taxes, and they had a property they want to refinance. So I did some coaching for them, and I was able to save them $38,000 on taxes. So I mean, that's the way. I mean, you really want to put your name out there, and I'm getting more out there myself. As you know, I have a YouTube channel with called Mr.AK, and there I just share free stuff that you can learn from. You can pick it up if you are hungry. You can learn from those videos and grow as fast as you can, because it's like you said, Henry. It's all about how much you want to put in is what you get back. Time is a currency. Knowledge is a currency. Be careful to spend it carefully, not on just just browsing through content, but learning from it.
What you're talking about right now is so freaking crucial, because think about it like this, like, for the individuals who are listening to this right now, your first deal that you came across, right, which was a single family deal. How did you come across that deal? You said it was this older guy, but how did you meet him?
I think a friend referred to me because I was looking for housing. I was a student. I was a broke student.
Okay.
And they said, well, this guy has a basement. Do you want to rent a room there? And that's how I kind of connected with him. And then over the next year, I built my relationship with him. So he could trust me, and he knows that I could take care of his place. It's a lot about building that trust with people, that they reach out to you and they know that you're not going to take their money. You're not going to con them. You're not going to cheat them, because that wasn't my intent. And was to help him get rid of the house that he wanted to get rid of, but not having to deal with the realtors and people coming and looking at the house where he's mourning about the death of his daughter. So I really came in, I mean, even to this day, he tells me, you came as an angel, help me out, because he cashed out, whatever the price was.
And I hear this all the time, which is why I wanted you to repeat it, because like you said, this networking piece, as an agent, as an investor, I mean, every bit of what we do is about your connections, your network. And the more people that you have that are not only in your network, but are specifically in and around this industry, which are people like brokers like myself, who are great at finding deals, the wholesalers, like you mentioned before, who are great at finding deals, other investors who might not have 100% of the capital, where they might want to partner with somebody like yourself or myself on great deals. The more connections that you can have, the more that you can educate, and not only educate, but show and teach people in your network of how to do business with you and how to be in a relationship with you, the whole game becomes easier. You're saying that every 2 weeks, you're filtering 50 deals every 2 weeks, 25 deals a week. It's very, very hard to not do deals.
I have to say no to so many deals because there's just so much out there, and people still think the economy is bad and this and that. I don't believe that, man. I can see people making money in Russia. I can see people making money in New Jersey and Japan, everywhere. Somebody's making money somewhere. And if you're not making money, it's not because the economy is bad. It's because you haven't found a creative way to do something different. Like I this year got into a whole bunch of other things that actually, as of last year, I opened 2 Amazon stores and 2 Walmart stores. And so I have this e-commerce thing going on the side because I realized I have more time, more hunger, and I cracked that code. And that is a business that's passive income, autopilot. You hire somebody, a virtual person who can manage your account, upload order. I mean, I literally just use my credit card to order products every single week for them. And I have to get on call with them for maybe 2-3 times a week for 10-15 minutes. And that's the only time I spend on that. So, I mean, once you make money with real estate and you have enough cash, then you need to think about, number one, tax saving. Number two, where can you reinvest this money? If real estate, for example, in the office space is not working out or whatever, find something else that can give you lucrative returns, because there's always demand for something, man. Always demand for e-commerce products, household products, cleaning products, and all that. I mean, Amazon is filled with multi-millionaires who are making a killing on Amazon. And I think Walmart is going to be the next Amazon. I really think so. And that's how I got into Walmart, because we're getting 10% more returns on Walmart orders than on Amazon orders, because everything is so expensive on Amazon.
So tell me, let's shift gears a little bit more towards the mindset piece and mentorship and coaching. Like we've talked about in the previous videos, how important to you is mentorship and coaching?
Immense, man. I mean, I don't have one mentor or one coach. I have several mentors and coaches. And these are guys who are very successful. Like one of them owns about $50 million worth of real estate in Washington, D.C., right next to Union Station, right next to Capitol Hill. This guy is a black dude that I met at work a long time ago. He was a director at FDIC, Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. I met him as a consultant. I was 23 years old, again, IT job. I was hustling. I was in the lab all day long, morning, working hard. And this guy saw me and he said, well, I want to talk to you. I want to take you to lunch. And then we became friends. And then he asked me to do some things for him, run some errands or do this and that. And I did everything, whatever I could, because I knew that it was hard to find a guy like him who was at this high level at the time. Being a director at FDIC is no joke. It takes a long time and a lot of knowledge and smarts. So I picked his brain. And then he's the one who actually also inspired me to go buy more deals, do more deals, and look at multi-units and so on and so forth, because he had been there, done that. So I have several coaches like that. And I think if you're really smart, you will pay someone or you will find someone who can get you there faster. Because eventually, if you're hardworking, if you're hungry, you will get there, but it will take you longer. And if I had to do it all over again, I would not do it without the coaches that I have right now. And I think Henry, I could tell by just meeting you. Henry and I met just now on the internet on YouTube, as I mentioned, but I can tell that he has a good heart. He's a good coach. He's willing to share. He's not hiding anything. He's not trying to sell anything to you. He just wants to add value to your life. So please listen to him carefully and take advantage, because he may not have the time in future to even do coaching for you.
Well, I appreciate you a lot, man. So listen, last thing I want to kind of do here, and when we wrap up, is for those individuals who are looking to get into the investment world, who are looking to, they're commercial brokers right now, or they're looking to get into the commercial real estate investment world, or some type of investment game a little bit. What are your first three moves, first few things that you would tell somebody to do?
Yeah, number one thing is build some connections through social media. Talk to people like Henry and myself, whomever, pick up some tips from them. Secondly, talk to some banks or lenders, lenders in general. Lenders could be hard money lenders, could be private money lenders, could be friends and family. Talk to them and see what, if you can borrow some money, if they trust you enough to give you some money, improve your credit. And then third thing is obviously finding deals. And deals you can find many different ways. There's several groups online. I mentioned myhousedeals.com, but even on Facebook, there are so many groups, very successful groups. They're usually called the REI groups, REI, if you want to search for that term. These REI groups have weekly meetups and they discuss properties, deals. They have investors there. And so you can find a lot of deals, network with people, get to know people. And if you do those three things in that order, find the connections, find the property, find the funding, I have no doubt you will succeed in real estate, and you will also have your first deal. And as long as you're willing to work, sky's the limit, man.
Well, listen, AK, thank you for joining me on the show, my friend. I appreciate it so very, very much. How can my audience get a hold of you or get in touch?
Man. You guys can check out my channel, youtube.com/Mr-AK. I also have a TikTok and Instagram account and LinkedIn under the same name called Ask AK How. AskAKHow@gmail.com is my email, so you guys can hit me up on that. I'm not good with phone calls, so I won't give out my phone number, but certainly email and social media is the best way to reach me. And if I can be of any help, I will definitely make time for you, especially for young, aspiring, hungry entrepreneurs who really want to learn and grow, not someone who just want to waste my time.
Sounds good. Well, listen, man, again, thank you so much for being on the show. And again, if you guys have not yet had a chance to follow his content, watch his stuff, make sure you check him out. He is fantastic. So again, thank you so much. And we'll see you guys next time. Take care, everyone.
Thank you, Henry. Thank you for the time. Take care. Have a great day, my friend.
If you're still watching this video, that means to me that you're a committed real estate agent and you're looking to take your life and business to the next level. I'm just curious. Why have you yet to schedule your free, no obligation coaching consultation? All you have to do is simply go in the description down below, and people are telling me this call has been the most unbelievable, the most powerful call they've had in their entire career. And here's just a few of the individuals who have taken full advantage of this call. And my mission is to support as many realtors as possible, build a 6- and 7-figure net income business so that they don't have to rely on this industry anymore for their everyday income. If you're a committed realtor, which I can see like you are, all you have to simply do to take full advantage of this free coaching consultation is to go in the description down below and schedule your free call now.